We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis Meseches Sukkah. This is Sukkah Daf 35b. The Gemara is in the middle of a drasha Gezerah Shava to teach that matzah for the mitzvah of matzah on Pesach it can't be from Mammon Gavoa. We have a Gezerah Shava to Chala. It says by Chala Vaya Bachalchem Mi Lechem Arts. It uses the word Lechem just like it uses the word Lechem Oni. By matzah Malahalan Mishalachem V'lo Mishal Meiser. Just like Chala we said in the previous summit, it has to be yours. It can't be Meiser. It can't be Mammon Gavoa. Afkan Mishalachem V'lo Mishal Meiser. So to over here, it's got to belong to you by matzah. It can't be Meiser Sheni. It can't be Mammon Gavoa. The Gemara says, Lema Messiah. Let's say the following support for what we just said. Isa shal Meiser Sheni, Patura min Achala Divri Rabbi Meir. The Brisa says if you have dough of Meiser Sheni, it's patur from Chala according to Rabbi Meir, because Meiser Sheni is Mammon Gavoa. The Chachamim Omer Mechayeves B'Chala. And the Chachamim who say it's not Mammon Gavoa, they say it's Chayev in Chala. So the Gemara says, Lema Messiah Lehi. What do you mean this is a support? This is exactly what we said before. This is fully supports the idea that we said before, that when it comes to Meiser Sheni, it's not considered, according to the Meir, it's not considered yours, and therefore you can't be Yotzei Chala. The Gemara says, no, Elami de Baha Pligi, Baha Nami Pligi. What we're really saying is as follows. From the fact there's a Machlokas Rabbi Meir and the Chacham by Chala, so maybe we can say that that proves and that extends to these other cases we were discussing as well, as Rashi over here says. Elevada Baha Messiah. Of course we understand by Chala, it's clear over here that that's what's going on. We want to know, does this show that it's the same thing by Esrog? There's going to be Machlokas Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim when it comes to Meiser Sheni by Esrog, and the same thing when it comes to Matzah. Here's what it means. Does this prove everything that Rabasi said correct? It's all the same thing. Just like by Chala, by Esrog and Matzah, it's all going to the same halacha. All of these have a halacha of lochem, as we just said. O Dilmer, maybe no, maybe Chala is different. Shani Isa, it's different by the dough, by the Chala. Diyamar Kra, because the pasuk says Arisosechem Trei Zimni. It actually says Arisosechem twice, and therefore we really understand to exclude that which is Mammon Gavoa. You can't necessarily apply it to these other cases of Esrog and Matzah. And the Gemara continues that the two dots, quoting the Mishnah, Shel Truma Tmeya Psula. It said by an Esrog, if it's an Esrog of Truma that's Tmeya, it can't be used for the mitzvah of Esrog. What's the reason? The Gemara says the lesba heter achila. The reason is because again you can't eat truma tameya, and we said in the previous summit in order to be yotze the mitzvah of esrog, it has to be something that at least in theory you can halachically eat. The shel truma tahora lo yitol. It said when it comes to truma, if it's tahora, it's not tameya, you shouldn't do it, but if you do it, it's okay. So pligi bar Rabami v'Rabasi. So Rabami and Rabasi they argue why is it that lechatchila you shouldn't use an esrog of truma tahora. One of them says the reason is because what's going to end up happening is you're going to be machshir to be makabel tumah. As Rashi over here says, shemachshir lekabel tumah, you're going to basically put liquid on it, put water on it, it's going to be makabel tumah. What they used to do is they used to put the arba minim in water in order that it shouldn't dry out. Now, if that water touches the esrog, you're now making it, you're preparing it to be makabel tumah. There's a halacha, you're not allowed to make truma become tameh. You're supposed to protect the truma. The Torah says you have to make a protection for it. So one says the reason why an esrog shouldn't be truma tahora is simply because it's likely that it's going to touch water and get wet, which will prepare it to be makabel tumah, which is something that you shouldn't do when it comes to truma. The other one says a different reason altogether. It's because you're actually destroying it somewhat. Rashi over here says, when you're constantly picking up the esrog for the mitzvah, that outer shell, you're making it lose a little bit. You're rubbing it. It gets a little disgusting because the hands keep touching it. It's also to make truma lose value in that fashion, to make it disgusting on the outside. That's going to be a problem. The Gemara says, "My beinai." What's the practical difference between these two approaches? Very simple. Let's say a person made a truma, but the outside of it, they didn't make that truma. That the shell of the esrog, so to speak, the peel of the esrog was not truma. Except for the outer part. According to the one who says that you're preparing it to be makabel tumah, there's a problem of that because still it's going to touch water. But the one who says the issue is you're going to cause it to deteriorate on the area that's truma, it's not a problem because that outer area is not truma anyway, so it's no issue. The Gemara continues at the two dots. V'imnatal kasher, if you took an esrog of truma tahora, you shouldn't do it lechatzchila, but b'diavad it's okay. And the Gemara explains, according to the one who says that the issue is that you have to be able to halachically eat the esrog, so truma is able to be eaten if it's tahora. And according to the one who says the issue is that it has to have monetary value, truma has monetary value as well. It's not a problem. Rashi over here explains, a Kohen can eat it. Yisrael also, maybe he can't eat it, but he can give it to his grandson who's a Kohen. Rashi does point out you can't redeem it to get it off of being truma that a Yisrael can eat it. That's not true, but still it's considered a heter achila. It has value, has monetary value. You're allowed to use truma. Let's say a Kohen can use it for kiddushin. Similarly, even a Yisrael can use it for kiddushin. A Kohen gives the Yisrael the truma. He can use it to be mekadesh a woman, and then she could sell it to Kohanim. So there you have another situation where it has monetary value. So that's why b'diavad, if you would take an esrog that's truma Torah, would not be a problem. The Gemara continues at the two dots, quoting the Mishnah of Shel Demai. If you have an esrog that's Demai, again, Demai is a situation where you bought it from an Amorit, so you're not sure that the meiser may have not been taken off. You're not sure about that. So we said that is going to be okay as the mitzvah to take it as part of the mitzvah. Gemara says, my time, what's the reason? My time at the Beis Hillel. What's the reason, according to Beis Hillel, that it's okay? As Rashi over here says, you're not supposed to eat demai. So why does Beis Hillel say it's fine to take an esrog of demai? You're yotze the mitzvah. So the Gemara says, the reason is because in theory, any person can be mafkir all of his property and make himself poor, and then he'll actually be allowed to eat it, because poor people are allowed to be lenient. They can eat demai, so it really is edible, at least in theory. So Ashtanami lochem karina be. It's going to be called lochem. The reason why it has to be edible is because it has to be lochem to you. You have to be able to eat it. It has to be for all of your possible uses. And in this case also, in theory, you can eat it if you were an ani d'tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah. Ma'achilin eswanim demai v'esachsanya demai. The poor people and also the soldiers would also get fed by the people of the country. They're all allowed to eat demai. And so therefore, again, according to Beis Hillel, it's considered edible. Beis Shammai ani lo achil demai. Now Beis Shammai disagree because they say an ani is not allowed to eat demai. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, ma'achilin ha'aniyim demai v'esachsanya demai. It says again, you're allowed to feed the aniyim and the achsanya, the soldiers demai. V'yomer Rav Huna, and Rav Huna said, Tana was taught Beis Shammai Yomer. Beis Shammai say, ein ma'achilin ha'aniyim v'esachsanoim demai. You're not allowed to feed the aniyim and the soldiers demai. Beis Hillel Yomer, but Beis Hillel disagree, and they say ma'achilin ha'aniyim demai v'esachsanoim demai. You're allowed to feed the poor people and you're allowed to feed the soldiers demai. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, quoting the Mishnah, Shal Meiser Sheni Shabirushalayim. It says if you have Meiser Sheni Birushalayim, Leman do Amar Memnesha Machshira Hamrei Machshira. So according to the one who said that there's a problem by Truma that you're preparing it to be Mekabel Tumah, so here also Lechatchili you shouldn't use Meiser Sheni Yerushalayim because it's going to get wet. You're going to prepare it to be Mekabel Tumah. Meiser Sheni has a similar status of Truma Tahora. And Leman do Amar Memnesha Mafsida. Similarly, when it comes to Truma Tahora, the one who says there's a problem that you're causing the outside by constantly picking it up for the mitzvah, you're making it lose value on the outside, you're making it disgusting. Harei mafsida, the same thing is true by Meiser Sheni. In other words, the point is, Meiser Sheni should be treated similar to Truma Tahora. That's why lechatchila you shouldn't use Meiser Sheni. Not al kasher, but b'diavad. If you took an esrog that was Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim, it's kosher. Why? The Gemara explains, Lamad daram neshein bo heter achila. Divrei Akol, according to the one who says that the issue only is that you have to be able to eat it. So in Yerushalayim, you're allowed to eat Meiser Sheni. Everyone would agree that's fine. Now, according to the one who says that there's an issue that it has to have monetary value, so Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim, according to Rabbi Meir, does not have monetary value because it's considered Mammon Gavoa. So Hamani Rabbanan, you'll just say that the Mishnah follows the Rabbanan who say that Meiser Sheni is not Mammon Gavoa, so it's not a problem. Also, chazazis, if it has a blemish, again, this was a boil-like blemish on the esrog. Amar of Chisda said, Davar zeh Rabbeinu Hagadol Amru, Hamakom yeh bi'ezra. The following thing was said by our master, our great Rebbe, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be of his assistants. Lo shanu el v'makom echad. That this halacha is only true if the chazazis is in one area. Avol b'shnayim u'shlosha mekomos kosher. But if you have it in 2 or 3 different areas on the esrog, it's going to be kosher. And so the Gemara says, Amar le Rava said back, Adrab, on the contrary, B'shnayim u'shlosha mekomos havalei kimenumor Upasul. If you have these blemishes in 2 or 3 different spots, doesn't it look spotted? That should certainly be pasul. So the Gemara says, you're right. Really, this statement of Rav Chisda in the name of Rabbeinu Hagadol, who's Rav, really is going on the end. It says, al miyuto kosher. It says that if you have the chazazas on a minority of the esrog, it's kosher. Amar Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda said, Davar zeh Rabbeinu Hagadol Amar v'amokom Yebiezro. The following thing was said by our great master. Again, that refers to Rav, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be at his assistance. Lo shanu ela b'makom echad. That it's only true if it's on the minority of the esrog that it's kosher, if it's in one location on the esrog. But if it's in 2 or 3 separate locations on the esrog, then it's going to be like it's a spotted esrog, and it's going to be pasul. The Gemara continues, Amar Rava, Rava says, if the blemish is on the upper part of the esrog, then even a small amount is going to be enough to make it pasul. Rashi over here says, in other words, it's on the area where it's curved at the top. Afilu kolshu pasul, even a small blemish is pasul. Shanira sham le'naim yos mishar makomas. The top of the esrog is very visible to people more than other places. Shabo so ove adam nosin. And if that's the part that the person looks at, and therefore it's going to be pasul. Nadla pitmas, if the pitum is taken. Taner Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar taught natla buchnaso. The pitum is referring to buchnaso. Buchnaso means the pestle-like protrusion from the esrog. Again, what we refer to as the pitum. The Gemara continues at the 2 dots, quoting the Mishnah, Niklaf, if you have a peeled esrog, it's going to be aser. Amar Rava, Rava says, Hay esroga da'aglid kahina sumka ksheira. If you have an esrog that's peeled like a red date, it's going to be kosher. So the Gemara says, V'anan tanan niklaf pasul, what's going on? It says in our Mishnah, if it's peeled, it's pasul. And Rava just said, if it's peeled, it's going to be kosher. Rashi over here says, Kahina sumka tamara aduma, red date. V'yafzel achar sheniklaf nat pachlad mumis, also here by the esrog. After you peel it, it turns red. Kederach kol haniklaf and beperos. That's true of all peeled fruits. So in any case, it seems a contradiction. Is peeled kosher? Is peeled pasul? Gemara says lo kasha. It's not difficult, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Vav Amud Aleph.